All right, hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out as always. So some more short form gameplay for you guys. Today I got a Kano matchup for you. Super interesting matchup. This one can either go either way. On the mid-range list, we're sort of like halfway there. What I mean by that is like Vynnset. Kano was almost a free win back in the day with Vynnset, because we ran a bunch of blues. We were probably on like 12 to 15 blues. We had Spell Void 2. We had AB4. Now we've cut down on the amount of blues we have access to, so it's a little bit of a harder matchup. That said, we're still very well positioned, and if Kano is an issue in your meta, just throw in like Dance of Darkness. So then you go up to Spell Void 4 plus AB4. We just run like without even really thinking about it. So it's still not a bad matchup. It's just not as free as it used to be. So here we're siding in all of our AB on Grimoire, AB on Carapace, and AB on Vexing Quillhen, which we play anyways, plus Spell Void 2 on our heads. And easiest sideboard in the history of time when it comes to Kano, you just auto include all of the things that have blue and yellow strips in your sideboard, plus the Haunting Rendition, which is a great prevention piece, and then just choose another two. Sometimes, in this case, I was going first, so I chose to side in the Read the Runes, but Revel and Runeblood is also a great choice for those last two cards. So first turn, we're just doing some setup here, banishing a Widespread Ruin, passing. We didn't have much else to do in this case. We are sitting on a blue, which makes us feel a little more secure against Kano. So we'll see if they decide to activate Kano. They did not in this case, so that's no problem. And if they do decide to activate Kano, we can always just like throw something at them. I could have thrown, just hard casted one of our Rune Gate cards from hand. So one other thing that's made Kano a little bit harder is they can go off out of nowhere. If you go shields down, it can be really, really bad news bears, because they have that, is it pop? No, it's not Pop the Bubble. We'll probably see it later. I can't actually remember this game. I recorded it a couple days ago. But they have that new card that draws them 2 cards if it deals over something. And then like or whatever it's called. Wildfire? I don't know, the one that buffs. I can't remember any Kano cards right now. But just buffs it into oblivion. Then they just like draw cards, and they're basically like fixing their deck by opting, and then they just like draw 2 cards, Kano, draw 2 cards, Kano. Like, it's just crazy. So they could really, really go off. You got to be careful when you go shields down. So on our turn, we banished a Bounding Demagon, which is easy enough to get out. We decided to hard cast a Deathly Whale here on Mauve Skies. Let me think about that. So I think I'm just getting frustrated with the volume of attack action cards that we're drawing into. And hard casting a whale allows us to basically try and get our rune chant generation like kickstarted. We can follow this up with a Bounding Demagon, so we feel fairly good about it. So the other option would have been to like hold back the blue and the yellow for pitch in case they do want to like Kano, but chances are they're not going to Kano on our turn unless we are like way down. So I don't hate this. I think I was just trying to like filter my hand a little bit. But it is us going shields down a little bit, but it's early game, so we're not that worried about it. So I think it was just about like fixing our hand and trying to get our rune chant generation off the ground. So hard casting the whale. I don't know. I don't know if this was the correct choice or not, but so Mauve Skies Whale, they pitched for the 2 chance. We have to assume they're going to cover this up. They don't want the Mauve Skies to hit. They asked us to go back and try that one again. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. I think we're confused as to what happened. So we just present the exact same attack. They still pitched the Lesson in Lava, so I'm not sure what changed there. Maybe they were reconsidering something. I don't know. Anyways. So we'll see what they do about the physical here. So 5 physical. Aether Wildfire. I did say Wildfire. So Wildfire, obviously key piece in Kano, but that just like buffs whatever into oblivion. We'll maybe see that card in a bit, but they buff it, and then when it hits, it deals them, or it draws them 2 cards, and they can basically just like dig for the top, fix their thing. Okay, so Then we just followed our initial attack up, the Deathly Whale, with a Bounding Demagon for 4. They decide to take the 4, which still produces us a rune chant, so we're happy about that. So we'll end on a rune chant. Don't know that I want to put this Phantom Wraith in Arsenal, so we're just going to skip the Arsenal phase, because it might just get stuck there. So now we have a Go Again enabler. We have Deadwood Dirge, which is great. Malefic Incantation would be an awesome card in this hand. So it would allow us to go 2 wide, because we need something to target with the Dirge after our first attack if we want to use it to make chance. So anyways, I'm just reading what Aether Arc does here. Makes a Ponder. Don't think we care, so we're just taking it. Letting them ponder. They already have an arsenal, so we're not that worried about it. We're going to go ahead and banish. What would we banish here, I wonder? So the choice is we banish Widespread Destruction, and then we play out Dirge to make a bunch of chants, and then we could even Machinations, Widespread Destruction, or we banish the Wraith, and we just go like Machinations, Ruin. I don't know. Again, if we had a Malefic Incantation, it'd be a no-brainer, because then we could Dirge, we could do everything. We could Ruin, Malefic Incantation, Machinations, and then go Ruin and Destruction. So we decide to just target their arsenal. We are scared of what's in their arsenal, which is totally fair sometimes with Kano. So we just want to reset them. Destruction feels like a very good card into Kano, by the way, because often they're trying to stuff that like Blazing Aether in their arsenal or their Wildfire to do like a double Wildfire turn or something crazy. So we are just choosing here to make a bunch of chants and threaten their arsenal. I'm just going to fast forward while these rune chants resolve. They did decide to block all 4 rune chants, so they clearly want to preserve their arsenal. So often this is what you'll see into Kano when you present a Widespread Destruction. They just give you their hand to keep that arsenal. So that's a bit of a win for us. We also have a Machinations that we're happy to sit on an arsenal. So we move on to the next turn. Now we have our Malefic Incantation, which will help. It's a great piece. So Eloquent Eulogy, Malefic Incantation, and great 2-card combo too. In this case, we only have 1 chant to start with. So I wonder if we're going to consider breaking Vexing, or we could just... Actually, we could do the Ruin if they choose to take... Yeah, so let me talk through what's going on. So playing out Malefic Incantation, we're going to have 1 rune chant and a Malefic Incantation. If we play out the Eulogy, which we can, only costs 1 rune gate, Machinations, Eulogy, it'll be 1 and 4 Go Again, and we'll create a rune, like Malefic will create us a rune chant. We're sitting on Funeral Moon, so I think what we do is we hope. Often they ignore the 1 rune chant, so they don't want to like pitch and lose value for their card. So then they just take it. That turns Funeral Moon online, which can make us our 2nd rune chant to follow it up with Ruin. I think that's the play. So we hope they take this rune chant, and like 90% of the time they will. Because if it's just 1 rune chant, again, they don't want to lose a whole card to prevent 1 arcane. If it's like 4, if it's like 3 rune chants, different story. It's kind of like a breakpoint again, right? So it's like this Kadachi. So they did decide to take it, which turns our Funeral Moon online. So we're going to go ahead and play that at some point before or after this resolves. And then we'll be able to follow this up. We could actually make 2 action points here if we wanted to, but we don't really need to unless we wanted to follow it up with Flail at the very, very end. But which actually wouldn't have been the worst play. So the other option for this line would be break the chain, make our Eloquence token, then play out the Funeral Moon, which would not only make us a 2nd rune chant, but also restore our action point. So then we could go Ruin plus Flail. In this case, like this allows us to float the Eloquence to the next turn. So I don't really hate this. Like Flail doesn't really add much to this, this turn cycle. That said, Flail into Kano, like Kano's very rarely going to block Flail because they don't have like great blocking equipment. So I don't know, maybe it was the call to swing the Flail. Not sure. So they just block out this Ruin, so they're just trying to preserve their life total. And we're happy with that. They banish something off the top of their decks. We make an Eloquence token and we move on. We've been stuck with this Wraith for a while. We definitely don't want to shove it in our arsenal, though. So we have Eloquence and we have Funeral Moon, which is interesting, but we don't really have a way to turn Funeral Moon online. So I wonder what we're actually going to do here. Let me think about this. I think the obvious banished target would be Wraith, but then we'd have to go like, we'd have to break Quill Hand. We could also, I don't know, or we hard cast the Wraith. We could hard cast the Wraith. Banish Funeral Moon, hard cast the Wraith. I don't hate that. I think that might be the play. Banish Funeral Moon, hard cast the Wraith. Like, we could go Machinations, hard cast Wraith, and then maybe hopefully end on a rune chant with Funeral Moon. That might be the play. This will require some thought. Oh, we could... That's interesting too. Shadow Averser, which is 2 go again, banishing Funeral Moon, then hard cast Wraith. There are a couple lines here. So that, I'm just going to pause it. The other option would be if we banish Funeral Moon, we play Funeral Moon, banishing, we play Shadow Averser, banishing Funeral Moon to give it go again. Then we can still hard cast the Wraith and play Funeral Moon. That might actually be the best play. We'll see what we settle on. So we actually decided to... Okay. So if I banish the Shadow Averser, we can play Shadow Averser banishing Funeral Moon. No, we have Malefic Incantation. So if I banish Shadow Averser, we could play Shadow Averser banishing Wraith. That makes us a rune chant. If they take the initial rune chant, we can Funeral Moon Wraith. That might be the line. I may have missed... I wonder what the play is here. We could still Shadow Averser banishing Funeral Moon and kind of achieve the exact same thing. This is a really interesting hand, but there are a couple different directions for this. I'm sort of interested to see how I play it out. We play Funeral Moon. Oh, this is the boring way. Because we play Funeral Moon, it gets go again from Eloquence. I don't think this was the line here. I think the best line would have been... It doesn't really matter what we banish here. We can banish Phantom Wraith, Shadow Averser, or Funeral Moon, and it doesn't actually matter. But I think the line is banish either the Funeral Moon or the Shadow Averser. We play Shadow Averser, banishing the Phantom Wraith. So now we have Funeral Moon and Phantom Wraith and banish. Shadow Averser comes in for 1 and 2 go again. We still have our Eloquence token. We hope they take the 1, which they often do. Malefic Incantation makes us 1. We then play Funeral Moon at instant speeds. It restores our action point. So we have an action point and 2 rune chants is the hope. Then we can go Machinations, Phantom Wraith, Flail. So that's like 1, 2, that's 3 plus 8 is 11 plus 1 with an on hit. Whereas this is like the boring way where we just play out the Funeral Moon. Like we're holding blues back. Maybe that's what I have in mind, but we're at 35. So I don't know if we care. So we just played out the Funeral Moon to make an extra rune chant. And then we're going to go, what? Machinations Wraith? I guess so. So, yeah, this is not the optimal line. I think the other line, while it did leave, like, we're assuming they take the first rune chant. Because in order for us to play the Funeral Moon, they have to take the first rune chant. So it kind of, like, hinges on one of their decisions. But I think it's a better play overall. So they are going to block for 3, take 3, question mark, yes. Take 3. Then we follow with Flail? I guess so. So Rune Chant Flail. So the difference in this line and the line that I proposed would have been an extra Rune Chant and an extra Shadow Averser swing. In this case, we'll sit on the Shadow Averser and banish, or in Arsenal, which I don't hate. But I don't know. I think there was definitely some better lines there. I did not play that one optimally. Love this hand, though. They're going to do a bunch of damage to us, though. But we're still at a high enough life total that we're kind of comfortable just doing our thing. So we're just going to take the 4. Sonic Boom. What does it do again? I don't remember. Nah, doesn't matter. So we're going to banish our Deathly Whale. Oh, we actually decided to break Vexing. Interesting. Let me think about this. So we play Whale, break Vexing. Why wouldn't we have just played Dirge instead of breaking the Vexing? We have... Interesting. Maybe we want to end on a bunch of chance? But I don't think it's necessary to break Vexing here. And into Kano, I don't know that we want to. Like, AB3 is fine. AB4 doesn't actually add that much. So I'm not, like, afraid to break Vexing against Kano. But in this case, because we have Deadwood Dirge, I don't know if we don't need to break Vexing. We can just play Deadwood Dirge, turn the 1 rune chant into 3. Beseech Whale. I'm interested to see. Maybe we just want to end on a bunch of rune chants, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure why we broke Vexing. Again, I don't think it changes much. It drops us down from AB4 to AB3, but it's just like you save it. Like it's a break in case of emergency thing, right? So again, I think this was another little misplay. We'll see if it comes back to bite us. I don't know. Again, I don't remember this game necessarily. So they took the first rune chant. It's giving us opportunity now to present the Succumb at instant speeds, but obviously we're just going to wait for them to like tell us whether they're going to block or not. So they blocked, they went AB2. I guess they're keeping 1 float for some reason. They're blocking 6. We are going to Succumb to maybe take a peek at their hand. Maybe they're not expecting this. Are they going to Storm Striders? They're going to Kano. Makes sense. Okay. So pitch to Kano. They still have 1 float. I guess they can break E-Pot to Kano again. So what did they see on top? We don't know. So now Succumb doesn't actually hit anything, which is fine. We have 1 action point. We break Chain present Urser? Weird. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I would do this the same if I were playing this again. I agree with my idea here of like not... Again, I don't think that was optimal. I shouldn't have played Vexing. I shouldn't have broke Vexing. I should have just played the Dirge. It allowed us to end on a lot of chance. They didn't have any cards in hand, so it's kind of fine. But like, there are much better ways to play that. In this case, now we don't really have any go again unless we want to pitch to Creepers. And we don't really have any blues, so we're not super comfortable in this position. But we do have a really good life lead, so we're just going to like present big number. So 6 and 8, which is pretty good. Yeah, and the Shadow has just been stuck. So definitely a couple turns ago, there was a better line. They would be down to like 10. I think if we played that line better. They're going to pitch to prevent some rune chants. We're just going to fast forward until the rune chants resolve. Now they have 8 to worry about on this Deathly. They block 6 of it and take 2 to 8. And then we just move on. We don't really have much to follow that up with. We draw into nothing but attack actions. So they've been like really defensive. Really defensive Kano, which is interesting. I think they're just like maybe waiting to like biding their time until they have the cards they need. Oh, this was confusing. I remember this now. They rewound to the previous turn, and it took me a minute to figure out like what was actually happening. So I just presented the exact same thing we did before. Big old thing. They still went to 8, but I think there was like a timing at the end that mattered. They wanted to play this E-Pot, I think, before turn end or something, so that's fine. So we get and banish. Banish Abounding Demagon and play a Delight out of hand. So this is another situation where we're just like, we get some awkward hands, too many attack action cards. We're trying to filter them away. And they're biding their time. They're building up potions, But they haven't, I guess they're just not seeing their pieces that allow them to like fix the top of their deck or push damage and like do something scary. So we're just whittling them down. They're Kanoing. So I wonder if this is their go off. So pop the bubble. No, this is not the one that I was thinking of. It does destroy a permanent, which we're fine. We don't have any rune chance right now. So pop the bubble. It's fine. We take 0. We don't pitch for that. Do they do more Kano? They just block. So they're in defensive mode until they have all of their pieces together. We draw into a better hand here. Dirge, Whale interacts so well together. We do have a bit of a safety net in Haunting Rendition. Prevent 2. So Dirge, Whale, and then we can succumb if they choose to take some damage. And if they do, that allows us to... So if they take any Arcane, it will allow us to follow this up with Bounding Demagon, which is pretty good. But it is a nice 3 that they can block pretty easily. So I'll fast forward again until the Rune Chance resolve. Ooh, they pitched... They're pitching reds, but they still had to take one of the arcanes. They pitched 2 reds. I know it's questionable, but they had only reds in their hand, which is really awkward for Kano, so I kind of understand. And even though this wasn't going to hit, we still play out the succumb, so we can gain an action point and then present another 4. Yeah, I don't know if there was a Shadow Averser play there. We would have had to banish a non-shadow, like, so we could have shadow, like we could have banished the Haunting Rendition and then played out the Shadow Averser, but it's hindsight, right? So I don't think that line was very obvious. So now we have 1 rune chant. We can just banish Phantom Wraith, play Malefic. We can play Shadow Averser, banishing Shadow Averser. So we can go pretty wide here. They're at 2, so they're in a lot of trouble. So we might do some Shadow Averser shenanigans, but it doesn't look like it. I guess we needed the Rune Chance to be able to play out this Phantom Wraith. So we'll see. So 2 chants, they rewound, I assume, because they're gonna Kano. They're gonna Kindle. So they're going off. They decided we're at 2. There's no chance we're surviving this. We're just gonna try. So they Kano'd, they Kindled. They got their Aether Wildfire. We have a blue, though, and, like, this is the worst possible time that they could be doing this, because we can prevent 3 Arcane, 5 Arcane, 7 Arcane. So they're amping. They're breaking an E-Pot. So Aether Wildfire would come in for, like, 6 or 7 or something. Can't really remember what the base is. Amping. So 3 amps. Ampalicious. Then we got to get the timing right with the Haunting Rendition. Is like on play whenever they present their thing. I'm just going to fast forward because it's... Oops. Whoa. Okay, so they present the Wildfire. So Metacarpus Wildfire. We'll see what it actually resolves for. It's for 8. So we're going to go ahead and... So I think I missed the window already to play Haunting Rendition. So I might actually go... I can't remember. So we will use Ebb and Fold. So we AB3'd, we Ebb and Fold. I undoed because I realized that I missed the window for Haunting Rendition. We have to play it on, like, basically before this resolves, which is awkward timing in Talishar, but that's fine. So now we have 2 damage prevention floating. We AB3 and we Spell Void, so we're preventing 7 of the 8. We take 1. So Aether Wildfire will amp all of 1, which is great for us. So the issue becomes with this new card, I can't remember, it's Open the Floodgates maybe, but it allows them to draw 2 cards. So they can kind of like chain those if they're able to fix the top of their deck with that Opt one, Aether Spindle. So they kind of like line them up on the top with a bunch of blues, and then they're able to like draw 2, Kano, draw 2, Kano, and like do crazy stuff. And it allows them to kill you from like 30 easily. It's pretty wild. So they said okay. So I guess like this kind of shows like there were some misplays there for sure. We could have played that game better. Kano's a bit of an interesting one. Like some of the decisions I made, I don't think this is actually what it came down to. some of the decision you make into Kano is like keeping a safety net. So like holding a blue black back, even though it's like in this case, I was talking through that like shadow. I could have done shadow verser sort of recursion stuff, but at the same time, we wouldn't have had the rune chance we needed, etc., etc. So sometimes it just makes sense to like do a suboptimal play in order to hold a blue back to kind of like give you that safety net. But Haunting Rendition helps us in this matchup for sure. So definitely not free, not by any means unwinnable. I think it's still a good matchup. I don't know if we're favored anymore. Before the like open the floodgates, like draw 2 recursion trick that Kano now has access to. So by the way, like this game is sort of over. I'm talking as if it's over, but like they are going to deal some damage here. Sonic Boom will deal like 5, and then Blazing Aether will deal like 6. But they really needed their Wildfire to connect with more damage in order for this to be like a meaningful end game. And so they're trying to get their resources all straightened out and everything. But it's going to be Sonic Boom, I think, for 4. Is it 3 base? I thought it was 4 base. It's only 3 base. Interesting. And they banish a Scour, which doesn't actually matter because we only have 1 rune chant. They can't actually target any rune chants and still let them resolve. So that doesn't do anything. So Blazing for 6. So we go to 19 and they die. So, what was I saying? I was saying, I got totally derailed in my train of thought, but I was saying it's not free. I would have said we were favored before the whole open the floodgate draw 2 tech. Now with that, I think it might be like a 50-50. I still think we're like one of the better decks to deal with Kano, but still tough. And the lines are like, again, sometimes you play a suboptimal line so that you can hold back a blue just to have that safety net, which is important. So I guess if Kano's wreaking havoc in your meta, consider running Dance of Darkness probably instead of Creepers. Creepers, you have to give up too much of your hand. You kind of have to go shields down in order to really take full advantage of a big Creepers turn. So I think Dance is probably the play if you need more Spell Void. But anyways, fun game nonetheless. It was unfortunate that I think they didn't really, like, their stuff didn't really come together in a meaningful way. But Kano can very much, if they get lucky and they're rolling hot, it's tough to deal with. So maybe a 50-50 now. We'll see. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, as always, everybody. And we'll see you in the next one real soon. Cheers.